Hi guys! Last week over on my Facebook page and on my Instagram, I asked for a little bit of help. I wanted a challenge. I am forever coming on here and saying I've got another simple page for you, and as much as I love simple pages and are a firm believer that they are the way that I stay on track with all of my documenting, I just wanted something to push me out of my comfort zone a little. I wanted to do a more is more page. So I asked you for a list of things that I should add to a traveler's notebook page. Now, not to choose from, I'm going to do all of them. I took all of your suggestions, I wrote down a list, and that is what I'm going to do today. Because there is so much to add to this page, I'm not going to do it in my pocket page notebook. That probably would not work very well at all. So I am going to add another page to my clear traveler's notebook album from the stamp spot. And if you manage to stick around all the way to the end of this video, I am going to give one of these away. So stay tuned. But in the meantime, let's get started. This is the list that I am working from. Lots of the suggestions were along similar themes, so I have grouped those together. Mixed media, no pink or teal, which is always going to be a mega challenge for me. Using animal die cuts, Christmas product on a non-Christmas page, glitter, felt, stitching, sequins, of course, thanks for that one guys. Washi tape, embossing, some gold color blocking, embellishment clusters, repeat stamping, and stickers. Sounds like a lot. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to give it a go. So I am going to use this full page photo on my right hand side, but that means I need something on the left. So this is where I'm going to do my mixed media. So to start off, I have grabbed a piece just of regular white cardstock. I didn't know how well that was going to take mixed media, so I have already laid down a base of gesso, and now I'm just going to play with a couple of my new Pink Fresh Studio liquid watercolors. Again, I've only used these a couple of times, so I'm not sure how this is going to work out either, so let's just see how we go. Now, you all know that I am most definitely not a mixed media person, so this is just me playing. It's not necessarily a tutorial of any kind, so experiment at your own risk. All I did was spritz my paper with a bit of water and then dropped on some watercolors. You can see how bright they are. They're incredibly bright. And just sort of started swirling them around. Now, someone had suggested I use the packaging technique, which I'm no expert at. I had no idea what I was doing, so I just smushed that watercolor mix around with a bit of plastic, which did actually sort of blend them together a bit nicer. I dabbed off some of the excess with some paper towel just because it was looking a little bit orange, and I was really happier with the color once I'd done that. I used that same packaging. It still had some color on it, so I spritzed that with water and then smushed that back onto the paper just to add a second layer after I had dried it, and I like the sort of texture that that has. And I figured it was best to stop at that point before I added so many layers. It just turned into one big mess. So 2 layers it is, and then I added a few drops of gold and I think coral color shine. And then I wanted to add a little bit more white back in, so I grabbed this white Liquitex ink and just did a few splatters and a few sort of bigger splotches of white. And I think that really lifted it. I was much happier after I'd put the white back in. I think because I ended up with such a heavy layer of yellow, I wanted a bit more white in it. So I dried all of that off, and then I'm just going to use my paper trimmer to trim it down. Now, even though I had added the gesso to my card, it was still quite warped. I mean, obviously I had added a lot of water, a lot of media altogether onto there, so it was quite warped, which did make trimming it a little bit difficult. I used the full page photo that I'm going to have on the right just to make sure it was the same size and to line up the holes, and I have punched them before I actually start working on it. That way I'm not going to place an embellishment or anything in the wrong place. First up, I am going to do some embossing, and I'm going to grab some gold embossing powder. I obviously, got quite a yellow tone here, so I'm going to go gold on top of that. I prepped my page with my powder tool before I did my stamping and poured out the embossing powder, but obviously I'm doing this all in one go, and so the page was nowhere near completely dry. So you can see up here when I pour the embossing powder on, it sort of just sticks to everything, and I probably could have gone around with a paintbrush or something and tried to wipe it off, but instead I've just left it. I kind of like the texture it adds. It stuck to some of those color shine drops. The gold ones definitely are not dry on this page. I noticed as I was working on it they were still quite tacky, so I did leave this page open on my desk for a couple of days afterwards until it was fully dry. I added that same stamp onto the right hand side, just I need to make sure I'm tying these two pages together a little bit, so that was my first attempt at that. Now I'm thinking that this is gonna cross off a few things on my list. It's glitter, it's a Christmas product, and I'm going to class it as washi tape, although I am adding some extra washi tape here. I like this one. I think it's a Heidi Swap one. It kind of looks like a topographical map, but I like that it's sort of translucent white, so it has kind of toned that yellow down a little bit. Now I'm going to do some stitching, and obviously I had stamped those circle stamps, so I figured I would just go with circles as a theme for this page. And I'm using just some bowls that are sitting on my desk to draw out 3 circles. I've got one on the right, one on the left, and one at the top that covers both pages. So normally I would do the pencil marking on the back, but I kind of wanted to see where I was actually going for this one, so I drew around the bowls with my pencil, and on this photo page it was quite hard to see where that was, but it's not perfect, but it got there in the end. And then I'm just going to punch some holes just with my regular drawing pin and my punching mat, and then on this page at least I am going to try and erase some of these pencil marks. They're probably way darker than they should have been, and because the page was still a little bit wet, a bit pliable, it didn't erase that well either, but once I have stitched that all in, it covers it up nicely. I grabbed a few different embroidery threads, but in that same sort of yellow, orange, gold kind of theme, so I'm gonna stitch these circles now, and I'm definitely not gonna make you watch me do that because it did take a while. I'm stitching this bottom one in yellow, and then the big one on the other side I'm going to do in white, and the one at the top I'm going to do in an orange thread. So you can see how quick that was. It's definitely much easier when you've got it whopped up to 300 times speed. I'm not tying any knots or anything in this thread, I'm just washi taping it to the back, and I love stitching, and I was really pleased with this, the texture that this added. Now someone had suggested felt, and that very nearly threw me because I don't have any felt. I had a small felt stash of scraps, and that got trashed when we moved, so I thought I didn't have any felt, and then as I was going through my embellishment bin I realized I had these little felt bows, so this is my attempt at felt. I am just gonna stitch this on because I didn't think that any sort of glue was gonna hold this appropriately. As it was, I struggled to try and stitch it on. This felt is really thick and stiff. And I grabbed a super sharp needle, and even then it was so hard to stitch it on, so I'm literally just hoping that the 2 stitches that I put through it is enough to hold it. I just tied a knot in the back, and fingers crossed, because this isn't in any sort of like protective sleeve or anything, it's just going to be in my little album. I can only cross my fingers that they stick. Now another thing that someone had asked me to use was like animal die cuts, like bears or llamas, and I have to admit I always struggle with those two. I don't even struggle, I just don't use them. I don't really have any subject matter unless the die cut is like a cat or a dog. I've got no reason to use animal die cuts, so I generally don't. This one here though was pretty cute, a little deer, and I kind of figured it sort of went with the page because, you know, my little cute animals, cute deer. I mean, it's never gonna be perfect, I guess, with those animal die cuts, but this is as good as it gets. And I'm gonna create an embellishment cluster with this deer die cut as well. So this pack of die cuts is from the September Citrus Twist Pocket Life kit. It was on my desk, I knew there was a deer in it, so I grabbed that one, and I'm just grabbing a few other pieces. A little word banner and one of the other circles, and I'm going to flip that upside down as well. Now I realized I hadn't added any gold color blocking, so I'm kind of thinking this is cheating, but hopefully it works. I grabbed a gold glitter looking paper and punched a half circle out of that, and then I had a little bit of gold foil card that I punched a smaller circle, and I'm going to layer that into my embellishment cluster here. So I added a couple of tags behind, and I'm literally just sticking things down as I go. I added the 2 circles behind the little deer, then stuck him down. I had a bow that was in the that die cut pack as well. I would never use anything like that either, so I added it to the little deer's neck. A few hearts, those are the more sorts of die cuts that I tend to use, more generic shapes like that. And then I am going to add this little arrow, this little word arrow at the bottom. It was yellow, it seemed appropriate, so I am sticking that down. And there's my little embellishment cluster. Here is another Christmas product. These were these gold foil labels from I think last year's December daily kit. I added that to one of my stitch circles, trimmed off the excess, and then figured instead of throwing that away I would stick it into the top as well. So that gives me 3 little points of gold foil as well. Now I had these stickers, these puffy stickers. One said sweet and was yellow, and I figured I'd build a title off that. So I stuck that down and realized I should work backwards, otherwise I was going to run out of room. And I had these gold glitter alphas that was in my December daily stash last year as well too, but I wanted to write sweet ones, and I had every letter except an S. So you'll see I started with a 5 upside down, which, you know, it's kind of the right shape, but it just wasn't working for me. So I'd muck around with this so much, and I'm kind of glad I did, because this doesn't work either. I tried to cut the end off another letter, and it does kind of make an S, but it's really weird looking. So I had pulled off a 3 to get a better sort of loop for the top there. And once I wiggle that around, and I really should have gone and got my tweezers because I was busy trying to dig this off with my nails, but eventually I get it all lined up and it does spell out sweet ones, so success. My last thing from my December daily stash is I had a few enamel dots, which I know is cheating. It's like I said, none of my December stash is like really Christmassy themed. I had sort of de-stashed what was left over from my December daily kits. I've had basically the same one since like 2013 and just continued to add to them. And I've really used up pretty much everything that I've got, so I have got very little left, and I can't wait to replenish that stash this year. I used that same stamp set, which is an old Studio Calico one from In a Creative Bubble, to do some repeat stamping. And I know it's not normal, like the normal repeat stamping that I would do, but I didn't really have any room for that on my page, so I've just sort of ghost stamped them 3 different places on the page. And I also had added some of those sequins. Now they're really old ones from We Are Memory Keepers, I think. I had a few in my stash, and then my lovely friend Michelle from the Stamp Spot sent me a huge stash when she was decluttering her room. And they're so much easier than trying to stick down sequins. So I used some gold ones and some white ones. I did have some black ones there, but I didn't use those. And just 3 tiny word phrases, and then I am going to step away. So guys, this is my finished More is More page, and it's definitely more than I would normally do, but I really love it. I love how it turned out. I think I've managed to check off everything on the list. It still feels balanced. yeah, I really like it. This did take me an incredibly long time, much longer than I would normally spend on a page, but thank you for all your suggestions. It really was a great deal of fun. Now, a little bit of fun for you. I have got one of these gorgeous clear acrylic traveler's notebook covers from the Stamp Spot to give away to one of you guys. So I'll leave all the details below, but make sure you have subscribed to my channel and leave a comment below telling me which part of this page that you enjoyed the most. And next week sometime, again, I'll leave the exact date down below, I will contact the winner and send this out to you. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this More is More page. I know I really did. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.